So women get to a point where they start to stick their head up like a tall poppy, and then it gets cut off. 86% of women in the workplace say that they feel like they're being cut off at the top.
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Hey everyone, Amy here. Welcome to Create Magic at Work. I want to tell you about our guests today before we really get into this topic, because I'm excited to just dive right in because it's about money and women. And if you're a man, stay tuned because I think that you'll learn a lot as well in this conversation. But I have Suzanne Longstreet here with me. Suzanne is a master mindset coach, an NLP trainer, and co-author of the Millionaire Codes. So everybody, ears perk up. We're going to get some Millionaire Codes today from Suzanne, hopefully. She coaches high-performing women leaders to break free from unconscious programming so they can lead with clarity, courage, and confidence. Through neuroscience, NLP, and intuitive strategies, Suzanne supports her clients in embodying their most magnetic selves with ease, joy, and integrity. Suzanne, welcome to Create Magic at Work.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you.
We've done some money conversations a few times on the show, but not in this particular way. Before we do, can you share with everyone a little more about your background in the corporate space?
Yeah. I spent 20 years, almost 20 years in human resources. And I started off in the hiring and firing aspect and the administrative part, and then soon got very frustrated with leaders who were just going through people and they didn't actually try to talk to them and communicate effectively. So I thought, I'm going to go into the training side. I'm going to help leaders learn how to have better conversations, how to have better performance management conversations. We introduced competencies, so based in emotional intelligence and Daniel Goleman's work, specifically across a 1,000-person organization. We talked about balanced scorecards. I helped managers with KPIs. And then I helped individuals with properly putting together their resume based on performance resumes, and then coaching them on how to do interviews, coaching managers and leaders how to do interviews. So a lot of broad experience in the corporate world in helping people to essentially communicate better.
Yeah, that's usually what it all comes down to, right? Tell us how you shifted or transitioned into this space that you're in today.
Yeah, it wasn't my choice. I got fired for my behavior, and I thought I was doing everything right. I was doing whatever my boss told me to do at the right time. And in fact, I would go back to my office and I learned to send her an email and say, okay, you just told me to do this, this, and this. And I would go do that, that, and that. And then it was wrong. So I was dealing with a boss who was changing their mind. I was not handling it well. And so I got fired. When you have a fight with your leader, there's the only person who's going to ever lose is the person who's in the lower level rather than the leader level, usually. So I was out and I thought, okay, I don't like this feeling of being fired because I was going to be at that company forever. So I decided to take a coaching certification and get a new job. So I got a new job, still in HR, still in learning and development and leadership focus, change management, all of that. And then worked with them for 2 years, finished my certificate on the Saturday, went, I'm a coach, and was let go on the Tuesday. And so I thought, okay, that's okay. This time I'm prepared. So over a period of 5 years, I swirled around on what not to do. And so if anybody's ever interested in learning about how not to start a business, please call me. I'd be happy to share with you all the procrastination tips in the world because I did them for 5 whole years. And then I thought I had some success. I started networking more and being more visible and being more confident, because when you get fired, your confidence is decimated. And so I kept thinking, who's going to want to talk to me? And what if the people who saw me get fired see my posts on LinkedIn? So there was a lot of fear. So I knew I had to get over this fear and the self-sabotage and the lack of confidence and the imposter syndrome and all of that. And I chose to take more training. That's when I discovered neurolinguistic programming. When I first did it, I thought, oh, this is going to help me help other people. And what it ended up doing was being the best thing for me because I discovered that I was running post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of an abusive marriage. So when I learned that and cleared that, I showed up more boldly, stood up for myself, spoke up, and my business shifted.
What an incredible story. I mean, thank you for sharing the real and the raw of what you went through because I just really appreciate that because no path is straight to where we go kind of on our journey or destiny of life. And I think when we get into the leadership space, when we get into kind of like the LinkedIn type paradigm, it's all about achievement, looking good, making the best impression, and all of those things. And really, what we end up finding is when we share who we really are as a human and our human experience with another human, the connection opens up so much more because, oh, it's like just like me, you've had some struggles. Just like me, you overcame some of those struggles, or you found a tool or an instrument that helped you. Explain a little bit more about NLP. What is that? And how do you use that in your work?
So I heard about first experienced neurolinguistic programming in 2002. Up until that point, my sister and I had many arguments, and I would usually, quite frankly, I would start them. And we would be on the phone pretty much every Saturday morning, and I would make a comment, and she would respond, and it would escalate, and we would argue every Saturday morning. And this one Saturday morning, I lobbed my volley, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm fascinated to hear that you say that, and I'm sorry that that's your experience of this." And I went, "What? What was happening?" She goes, "Oh, well, I've been learning this neurolinguistic programming." That began the search. I didn't do anything about it. Again, procrastination plus. I'm a procrastinator until 2015. So what I learned in 2015 when I took the course was, so first of all, I experienced it as, wow, she's different. And then when I took the course for myself, I learned that it's based in psychology. So Bandler and Grinder started to research some of the really great therapists of the time, so the 60s and 70s. And they studied their behavior patterns and the results that they were getting with clients. And they thought, oh, that's very interesting that, for example, Virginia Satir, she got very specific with somebody by asking very pointed questions, and they would get really great results. This must be a great formula. We're going to map it out. And they would, hey, if this happens, then this happens, and we get this, why don't we just shorten it down? And so the tools and techniques that I use, I can clear a phobia or a trauma in 20 minutes.
That's an incredible claim.
They're saying, I keep working with people for longer because my job is to now convince them that it's gone. The problem's gone. That's where I take the time, is setting it up in the beginning, explaining all of this to them, doing the technique, and then watching them go out and experience life and going, so I had a client yesterday. She said, I really want to get to $1 million in my business this year. I said, great, we can do it. She said, yeah, but this year, we just started working in June. Yeah, we can do it. She's already got an established business. She's already mid 6 figures. She had some things going on. And so yesterday she says, you know what, Suzanne, I went into a spin class that I would never done before. And afterwards she said, who was the woman that showed up? And I said, that's the real person that you are. And she was sitting there on the spin class going, this is really hard. And she goes, but this is what a 7-figure CEO does. This is how they show up. And so she is proving to herself that she's transformed by taking action differently.
I love that. So for all of us, if we feel like we are not at the money flow potential that we feel deeply we could be at, what's like a tip that you could give us that could help shift into a little bit more of who that could be?
First of
Oh
all,
gosh, I love that cover. Yeah, so Suzanne's holding up her book, The Millionaire Codes: The Secret Brain Science Path to Supernatural Success. So, gorgeous cover, and we'll put the link to that in the show notes for sure. But is there a like, what are these codes?
yeah, so what we do is so Sarah and I wrote this together. Sarah's my client who went from, she contacted me, she said, "Suzanne, I wanna get" it was August of 2021, she said, "I wanna get to $1,000,000 this year." I said, "We can do it, as long as you keep taking action towards your goal." She goes, "No problem." I said, "I'll clear what's not serving you." We got together 110 days later, she made it to $1,000,000. So what this book does is talk about her story, my story, and how this book came to be. The middle part is me talking about NLP. So if you're more interested in how your brain is working and how your brain's doing the problem, I talk to you about NLP in there. So if you like to nerd out and geek out, that's in the middle. The last pages are 10 millionaire codes. And so that's where you're going to find things like what we're talking about, but I'm happy to give you more around this. And many of them include just focus on what you want. So for the first one, it's the clarifier, is all about getting clear on what you want exactly and specifically. Imagining yourself, imagination is a big component of this. Imagine that you're out in the future and you're succeeding in whatever it is the goal is. And then when you turn back along your timeline, so you stay up above your timeline and focus out in the future and focus towards now, and you come back really slowly, what you're going to see is that you're changing as a result, but you're not doing it consciously, which again is 10% of our brain is conscious, but you're not doing it consciously. You're doing it with the 90% of your brain, which is unconscious. So it's like setting it and then forgetting it, setting the timer and forgetting it, putting the vision out there and it's bigger than manifesting. And there's more ways to do it, but we go in that. So when it's around money, see yourself in the future, accepting it easily. And then put some emotion in it. So I know it sounds a lot like manifestation. There's more to it.
Hey everyone, Amy here. Let's talk about work realities for a second. Whether you're dealing with a tough boss, struggling with team miscommunication, feeling stuck in decision making, let's be real, work drama exists and it's exhausting, but it doesn't have to be this way. At Create Magic at Work, we help leaders like you cut through the chaos, build next level communication skills, and make better, faster decisions without the stress spiral. Whether you're leading a team or just trying to keep your sanity at work, we've got your back. We coach executives and teams like yours to develop interpersonal savvy, drive engagement, and bring your vision and purpose to life so work actually feels energizing again. Imagine that. More engagement, more productivity, less drama. Our executive coaching team has been in your shoes. We've led teams, navigated workplace challenges, and know what it takes to help you succeed and achieve your goals. Real experience, real talk, and real results. If you're thinking, yes, Amy, we need this at my work, then let's talk. Click the link in the show notes and let us help you and your teams become a high-performing, engaged, and productive force of clarity and calm. I'll see you in the Zoom room. Let's throw the stress and drama out the window. Click on the link in the show notes. Here's one of my personal, I don't know what word I would put to it, but just kind of like, I'm not sure about this. How does that compare to men in business that are multimillionaires, billionaires, men in the corporate space that move up quite quickly, get generous pay increases compared to their female counterparts? What I do see a lot in the coaching space that gives me pause, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is a lot of money mindset classes for women. And I'm kind of like, are these men that are multimillionaires really got this great positive money mindset and doing all this visioning and doing all this like clearing of blocks. So that's one skeptic question that comes up for me. The other side of it that I'd like to hear your perspective on is what about the systems that we work in that create the, I what if you and I both maybe have a client that wants to negotiate a pay raise at work and they've done everything they can, but they're kind of coming up against a systemic block. So I kind of gave you like a two-part thing of my skeptic on my shoulder here. Do you want to speak to any of those things?
Yeah, there's a lot in that. The system first, the patriarchy. Yeah, it's a real thing. Okay, so I'm doing some research for the next book, and it's more on this topic, and we're just starting because I'd really love to know how the female brain works versus the male brain when it comes to receiving and asking for more money. So when I was in HR and I was looking at resumes, I would see male and female resume people applying for the job. You've heard this before. Typically, the guy looks at it and goes, "Yep, 1 out of 9 things. I can do that. I can do that job in my sleep. I can do one of those 9 qualifications, no problem." The woman looks at it and goes, "Oh, there's 2 things on there I've never done. That I can't do that job." Why do we do that? When we can answer that question, I think that we'll be able to answer many more questions around that. They're trying to get to there. There's a study that I pulled off of, it's called the Tallest Poppy Syndrome, and it's by Women of Influence by February of 2023. This starts to talk to why. So women get to a point where they start to stick their head up like a tall poppy, and then it gets cut off. 86% of women in the workplace say that they feel like they're being cut off at the top. I haven't figured it out yet, but I do know that when I work with my clients and we clear past traumas, limiting beliefs, what happens is they gain clarity of what they want and who they are. They step into their own potential. They believe in themselves. That's the biggest one. They have more courage and they take bolder steps with confidence. And I believe that when we speak with confidence, more people listen to us. But how many women do you hear in a meeting room? I know I used to be one of them that would say, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but can I just give you my opinion? They're asking for it. They're in a questioning tonality, so that doesn't demonstrate authority. They apologize too much, and they use the word just.
How do you think that compares to being in your masculine or feminine energy? Because I'm like the big skeptic because the other piece that comes up for me when you share that is that's great. She's speaking, she's sharing her voice. She spoke up instead of staying silent. It might not have been 100% effective in the way the communication was landing. But what about that is being in her feminine energy and saying, no, you have to shift into a masculine energy to be heard.
So I was demonstrating there ways for men and women to discount their authority. When we speak up in a neutral tonality or a command tonality, hand me that paper now, people naturally resonate with that, male or female. They don't resonate with, "Oh, I just have, we're shrinking." Amy Cuddy did some great work. Her talks about this, the victory pose and the power pose. So it's the belief in self, the projection of the voice, the tonality demonstrates more authority, and people will listen, they lean in on that versus the person who seems to be unsure of themselves.
And the thing that the rub there is someone could be very, very knowledgeable and very great at their job, and someone could not be. And if they project confidence, then they could end up being the leader, and we end up having confidence over competence, and sometimes even being led by narcissistic leaders that are just displaying confidence over the competence. So, unfortunately, the psychology of how we all connect with each other, if we're not overthinking it like I do, is there's the person in the room that projects this confidence. They really sound like they know what they're talking about. And wow, this person's amazing. So I guess the challenge for me and for all of the Create Magic at Work community is okay, let's embrace this. If we are confident, let's embrace the confidence piece where we can be the competent leader in the space and show that so we don't end up having these incompetent leaders that are narcissistic, creating toxic workplace cultures. I mean, I really pulled that thread right now, but you've got me thinking so much in this conversation. So it is to our benefit to practice that, and I would say maybe it is leaning into that more masculine energy in the workplace and, like, where do we sit with that? How do we Yeah, I mean, these are all questions for us to consider and think about who we wanna be as women leaders, as women entrepreneurs in the space, and I always say we have to rewrite the rules. If we go from number 2 to number 1, we've gotta do something differently than the way it was done before. We can't just keep replicating these systems that have created some not so good stuff. Some good stuff, but some not so good stuff. It sounds like you have some thoughts on that. Yeah?
Well, the other thing is with this study that, the tallest poppy study, they said that the worst offenders are women to women.
That's so good. I just did an episode a few months back with my friend Marcy. She, wrote a book called My Boss Is a Bitch, and we dove into that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more why that study says that.
It's not a gender thing. I think we need to stop thinking it's a gender thing, but it's more of a people thing. And I'm interested in this masculine feminine approach that you keep talking about, which is what if we were just people and we, instead of a masculine or feminine type of communication, we just leaned into the communication that works best for us. I'm sharing with you that questioning tonality will always diminish your authority.
Love it. Yeah, that's good. As far as, like, the women versus the women not supporting women kind of thing you brought up from that, I have read in some different studies that it's because of a systemic feeling of scarcity that's created. Like, there's not enough seats at the table if you're, like, one woman that's on the C-suite team of all men, that's, like, the one seat subconsciously that you feel from these systems that we work in, and so then all of a sudden, it does feel like there's no support there. So, I mean, way back, when I was working, I remember I wanted to hear what my female counterparts were making in the exact same position. No one would share. I wanted to make sure I was making the same amount of money commensurate to my peers doing the same amount of work, but everyone was afraid that they were gonna lose something by sharing that. That was always an interesting dynamic to me as well. So, anyway, you got me going off. I'm, like, super spicy today and, like, getting into all these, so thank you for being here and, like, really holding the space to answer these questions. Okay, so tell me one leadership myth that if you could wave a magic wand, women would let go of.
At home, we often carry the invisible burden and the mental load of taking care of the house, making sure that the kids are taking all of the things. And if we could let go of the need to do more to show that we are more competent, I would love it if more female leaders would let go of that, this inner drive, because again, we do so much already for free. Female leaders bring that into the workplace and think that they need to do more, be more, and show more to get more. Actually, not even more, as much as their male counterparts.
Yeah, that's such a good observation. And I almost think because I see it a lot with myself, with my friends, with my clients, with my colleagues, it's almost like you're doing so much to be like, look, I can do it. Or, oh my gosh, like, see? And then all of a sudden you're overwhelmed and you're burnt out and you're not allowing for things to flow or for things to be done for you, to be in that receiving space, which is really kind of getting you out of alignment.
Right. We are biologically wired to receive physically. We're the receiver. And we don't. That has to change.
So what's one thing we can do to receive from this conversation? What's one shift?
Ask for help.
Ooh. Okay.
Start small. Start so small. Ask somebody to get your coffee or your smoothie. Ask for help in one thing every day and make it bigger. What you're doing is you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your unconscious mind that it's safe to ask for help.
Yeah. Love it. Easy tip. Start small. Ask for help. I'm going to pull a card for everyone listening. I'm so excited to see what card comes up from this conversation. Because I told you before we started recording, I was like, I've got some questions I really just want to throw at you that that I ruminate on, All right. This is a message for everyone listening from the Create Magic at Work journal prompt card deck. So you'll get this message from the universe. So we got preparation. The affirmation is, I am open to learning new skills in order to succeed. And the illustration is a little team of spiders building a web. Suzanne, I'm going to ask you a question on the fly to offer some advice to myself and the listeners. If there was one skill that you could recommend that someone masters by the end of the year, what would it be?
Okay, what's coming is take an extra 10 seconds before you respond. And go like an extra 10 seconds before you just fire back that email or that text or that message or whatever. Just take an extra 10 seconds because I cannot tell you how much time is wasted in what I'm watching back and forth. My husband is in corporate, back and forth with messages that people don't understand, and they have to come back. They have to, first of all, ruminate on it, try and figure it out, and then they have to fire back out. Is this what you mean? There's more time wasted, your time and theirs, and corporate time wasted when we don't take that extra 10 seconds to just make sure that the point is communicated well.
Very good. One little step in mastering the skill of effective communication in your preparation. Love it. Thank you for sharing some magic with all of us today. And thank you for sharing the Millionaire Codes with us. We'll put the link to the book in the show notes. If people want to connect with you and learn more about your work, how can they reach out to you?
Absolutely. Please book time with me. I'm happy to spend an hour with somebody and just talk to them. I'd love to chat with you more, just about more some of your more cynical ideas. It was so fun to hear from what you're saying. The best way to do that is to go to my website, which I've shared with you. It's successandclarity.com. You can buy the book on Amazon, all Amazon's, Barnes & Noble. In Canada, it's available at Chapters Indigo.
Awesome. Suzanne, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.